What's up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Reigns at 50 Shades of Drunk, and we are going to talk about our Week 3 IDP fantasy football waiver wire pickups. It is that time of the year. The season is in full swing, so we're going to talk about things that went down in Week 2. It's not completely over yet, but get you some early waiver wire pickups for your IDP fantasy football leagues. Talk about some of the big games, some of the things that we're seeing out here. So it's going to be a good show. Thanks for kicking it with us. We'll be right back. As always, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. If you are someone who is part of the Patreon, the show, this channel, this podcast keeps rolling mainly because of you all. Also want to thank the folks over at Underdog. If you've signed up for Underdog, if you play Underdog with us, that gives us a kickback too. That helps with the production value. That helps us bring people on, put out new content, etc. If you want to join the Patreon, we have 3 tiers: $5 for the Black Ops tier, or $13 for the Black Ops, $5 for the Underdogs, and Semi-Pro is going to be $19, I think, right now. Just did a sweep of my Dynasty rankings, my wide receivers in particular this morning, just letting you all know. Amon-Ra St. Brown did get, I had him pretty high, a lot higher than some people last year. He was still in my tier 2. But after what I've seen to the start of the season, he's a tier 1 guy for me. There's no real knocks on his situation or his game. So I moved him up. A couple of players I moved down. Chris Godwin moved down a little bit. Calvin Ridley moved down in my rankings a little bit. Just some small adjustments as I'm seeing the market kind of shift as we're getting more into the win now season mode. His values are shifting quickly. I want to be able to adapt. I want you all to know what I'm thinking. So if you are on the Patreon and you do have access to the Semi-Pro tier, which has the Dynasty Index in it, you'll see that if you go check that out. So appreciate everybody that's over there in the Patreon. If you're not, join us over there. We'd love to have you. Before we jump into the waiver wire for Week 3 for IDP, I want to just talk about a few things, bring up a few topics. One, we'll talk about some leaders right now leading the NFL. And again, remember, there are 4 games tonight, or there's 2 games tonight, 4 teams playing. So this might shift a little by the time you hear it, but this is what we're working with on Monday morning, or Monday afternoon rather. So right now, the league leader in solo tackles is Pete Werner, waiver wire darling from last week. He has 18 solo tackles, and the next person behind him is Jordan Brooks, one of our favorite players from last year. So that's kind of cool to see. Tackles for loss leader through 2 weeks. Right now, this one kind of shocked me. And we'll talk about him again soon. It's Frankie Louvu. 4 tackles for loss for Frankie Louvu. This is a linebacker. You're like, who's that? Linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. Apparently, he's that guy. He has a pass deflection, 16 combined tackles, 15 of those are solo, and 14 tackles for loss. That's why his name keeps popping up. So we're going to talk about him again here in a little bit. He will be one of our waiver wire targets. He's tied with 4 with Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. That's some good company. That's some really good company to keep, Mr. Frankie Louvu. So run to your waiver wires. Nay, sprint as fast as you can. Go get you some of that Frankie Louvu. Now we're going to see the pass deflection leaders. This is kind of interesting. Rayshon Jenkins right now has 5 pass deflections on the season. Not doing much else, only 5 combined tackles, but pass deflections are premium plays. Those can lead to turnovers. He does have 1 interception already. The next player behind him, another waiver wire player from last week for IDP, Talanoa Hufanga. 3 pass deflections for him on the season, 17 combined tackles. He has 3 tackles for loss. That's really, really, really good for a defensive back. So we'll bring him up again. I'm sure you will see on this show. But there are some new players that will be coming across for us today for the waiver wire, or for our waiver wire targets. But before we go into that, I wanted to bring up one last leader. This is one you really don't want to be. But these are the sack leaders, players that have been the most sacked, quarterbacks that have been the most sacked in the NFL so far. Joe Burrow's been sacked 13 times. Jameis Winston has been sacked 10 times. Matthew Stafford, 8, and Daniel Jones, 8. I don't see that. I don't see them suddenly being sacked a lot less. Let's just put it that way. So these are going to be players whose teams we're going to be looking to stream defensive line players on. If you have an injury, somebody's on bye, we're going to be looking at these guys, these quarterbacks for upside. Sucks that Joe Burrow's in this situation. Sucks that Jameis in this situation. And some of that can be caveated with who they played. Jameis played against Shaq Barrett, Devin White. Some special pass rushing going on there. Okay, so we'll monitor how Jameis does the rest of the way. Joe Burrow this last week, Micah Parsons, 4 sacks right now. Defensive Rookie of the Year, making a case to be Defensive Player of the Year. So when you're playing that level of talent this early in the season, maybe some of those numbers get a little inflated. But right now we are putting pins in those because they're still relevant. They still matter. It still happened, shall we say. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next segment here. I'm going to pull this up on the screen. We're going to talk about the injuries we had this last week. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of anything. I'm one man. We have a few other people behind the scenes doing some stuff. But if you have more information, if you have questions, comments, smart ass remarks, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Come at me on Twitter. I love to hang on Twitter. I would love to hear what you have all to have to say about this. But on our injury report, the main injuries that I kind of am aware of so far after my initial kind of pass at things is Kyle Duggar had a knee injury. And we saw Adrian Phillips come in and play a lot of snaps. Okay, he will come up shortly on the waiver wire bit. Marcus May had a wrist injury. Still managed to play through that, I saw. But we'll have to see if that continues. Ashton Davis, you saw, did have the game-winning interception. I don't know if maybe Ashton Davis went out there at the very end. I'll have to double, and triple check those snap counts a little bit. But Marcus May did play up most of the snaps, I know, just based on what I was looking at earlier. Devin Bush, foot injury. He was out there for a good bit, but towards the end came off the field. Robert Spillane, definitely a name to put a pin in. He has proven himself a really good waiver wire player. I mean, he's probably the 4th time he's come up on this show in the past 18 months. So Robert Spillane, if he's out there on your waiver wire, which there's a good chance he is, he could be a really good fill-in for Devin Bush here. Leonard Williams, pass rusher for the New York Giants, went out with a knee injury late in the game. And then Quinnen Williams, big Q up in the middle, both these Giants interior guys, went out with a foot injury. So monitor those if you have them. Obviously, they're defensive tackles or interior guys. So you're probably not relying on them super heavily, but still you don't like that because at that position, those are still some of the better guys to have. So you don't really want to play their replacements. You might have to. Maybe you find somebody that's a little bit better out there. So let's go ahead and scroll on down. So here are some players I think are potential cut candidates. This is up to you. I mean, this is your discretion. I don't know what your league size is. I don't know what your roster requirements are. I don't know what, but looking at my rosters, these are some of the players I saw. These are some of the players I've been watching, and I'm like, it might be time to cut you loose. Isaiah Simmons, he only played 20% of snaps, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he had a good overtime play, but the volume's just not there. So he shouldn't be wasting a spot on your bench at this point, especially if you're even in Dynasty. It's going to get tough to hold on to him, even though he has the draft capital. Corey Littleton is not getting playing time. We thought maybe he could beat out some of these other guys. He can't, unfortunately. Eric Armstead, really good season 3 years ago. He hasn't really done anything since then. He could be a plug and play guy off the waivers as a streamer. If you need a handful of points, he's not somebody that's really worth keeping on your bench right now. And then Andrew Van Ginkel, this one really hurts. He's one of my favorite guys coming into the year as a sleeper for Miami. Seems like they like Melvin Ingram more as their kind of rotational pass rusher who comes in. I can't say I blame him. Melvin Ingram is a good player. Van Ginkel was developing well, I thought, over the last year or two. But I trust Mike McDaniels wholeheartedly at this point. The man knows what he's doing. So if Andrew Van Ginkel is a special teams player under his regime, so be it. I'm okay with that. So these are some players that we may have had sitting on our bench. It's week 2. You want to go get somebody different. You want to make some moves. You want to know who to cut. These are a handful of guys you could cut. If you have any questions about other players, like I said, give me some context. Leave me a comment. I would love to chat with you about it, let you know what I'm thinking. We will scroll down. Again, this is not, this is not an exhaustive list. There's, this is some good IDP content. Thank you so much for being here. Share it, like this episode, subscribe to the channel, all the good stuff. But these are just the things that I noticed and I think are going to be the most relevant to the upcoming week. And more information will be put out on our TikTok, on our Instagram, on our Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. But Frankie Louvu, again, like I said, he and Shaq Thompson, I had Shaq Thompson ranked well ahead of him, obviously, because I thought he was going to be the main guy. So this last week, Frankie played 100% of snaps. Shaq Thompson only played 92. You go back to week 1, Frankie played 85. Shaq Thompson only played 75. So Shaq Thompson is not the de facto, whatever you want to call it, one, the guy. I don't know how we're going to go about, calling this, but he's not that guy right now. Is he still worth playing and rostering? Yes. Yes. I'm not saying dump Shaq Thompson, but I'm saying right now, Frankie Louvu is emerging. All right. He's getting the snaps. He's making the plays. He's getting the points. Okay. So there's an observation for you. Something I was watching from last week. Looked at it first thing this morning. Nick Cross filling in for, I didn't watch this game, so maybe there was some reason he only played 65% of snaps. And if somebody knows, let me know. I don't watch the Colts because they suck. But Nick Cross, 65% of snaps, that's down. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. I know I had a lot of people asking on the live stream on Sunday about him last week. Speaking of which, if any of you were on the live stream yesterday, thanks for coming. It was a great time. Sunday morning live stream, we had I think 200-ish people come through, answering offensive questions, defensive questions, and just shooting the shit about football. Had a good time. It was one of my favorite parts about the season is the pregame before we actually all sit down and watch football on Sundays. Zach Allen, defensive end, defensive line player for the Arizona Cardinals, 80+% of snaps. Marcus Golden didn't do much. He seems to be the guy that's coming in to play for Chandler Jones now. So he could be somebody you could go pick up if you're looking for some depth, if you just want to shake your team up a little bit. Hasn't really made any big splash plays or made a difference yet, but the volume of being on the field exists for him. And my last 2 snap note observations that I thought were, want to lead the show off with here is Mike Edwards for Tampa Bay played 100% of snaps at defensive back/safety. And then Logan Ryan only played 70%. Coming into the year, I assumed Logan Ryan would be the opposite, number 1 or number A and B to Antoine Winfield. Looks like that's not the role they have in mind for him right now. Again, I'm not saying drop him. I'm not saying, but he's not a must-start player right now for me, Logan Ryan, the way I thought he would be coming into the season. So maybe that's the best way to kind of explain my thoughts there. Okay, before I get into the meat and potatoes, I say I have some comments coming in, so I'm going to do my best, y'all, answer some of these questions, and then I'm going to get back to the commentary and then get y'all your waiver wire rankings. Oh my gosh, y'all got a bunch of questions. All right, let's do this. So, is Tua real? Yeah, I mean, he looks like he exists on this astral plane, physical. I couldn't see through him. He threw some balls pretty deep to Tyreek. Tua's real. Yeah, I mean, just the only thing about Tua that makes you doubt Tua is the voice of other people doubting Tua. Am I not right, Adrian McFadden? So, I mean, yeah, he looks real to me. I think I had him as quarterback 12, 13, 14 coming into the year. I had him pretty high. Didn't talk about it a lot, but it's just when you give a guy who knows how to play football, so many players that are so good at football, and you give him a coach that seems like he knows what he's doing, the upside was just not really acknowledged because everybody's like, oh, Tua's running on flat tires. No, false. He looked really fucking good yesterday. He beat a former MVP on the road. I mean, yes, Tua is, I don't know how much more real you can get than coming back from 20 points down in the fourth quarter, my guy. So if you got to ask, I got to ask, are you okay? No, I'm just kidding, my guy. All right, Leonardo Perez says, who do I start next week? I have Higgins, Deontay, Curtis Samuel, Kirk. I have Jefferson, Locke. Man, I'm sorry. I love you to death. I'm not going to answer your start-sit questions right now for offense because I need to do what I'm here to do. What's the deal with Jabril Peppers in New England? I don't know. I mean, it's Bill Belichick doing what he does. I mean, even his linebackers this last week, I think the main guys put like 70% of snaps. It's I don't want it. Jabril Peppers on the bench. In Dynasty, he's on the bench. Probably going to be a good buy low candidate in a year or two, but right now, it's just ugh. What do I do with Taylor Rapp? Hold. Ricky, what's up? My safeties didn't show up yesterday. Yeah, no joke. You're literally naming off all my safeties right here. Got to bounce back next week. Yep. I mean, that's the game. It's ups, it's downs. We just keep riding. I have Elijah Mitchell. Don't know what to do. Sorry. And I'm saying this in love. Any tips? All right, you had 3 questions in a row. Elijah Mitchell, Cam Akers, Montgomery, Kamara, Henderson, RB. My wide receivers are Kareem, Keenan, Debo Curtis, Sutton. And I'm 0-2. My team people, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know either, man. Fantasy football is I'm trying not to cuss anymore, but this is a moment where I feel like it works. Fantasy football is a bitch. All right. Like, and she calls sometimes. I mean, you can do everything right and you can get pummeled. And you can watch guys go out there and do everything wrong and they win the league. And there's nothing you can do about it. So smoke up, go make a sandwich, my guy. Good luck. Enjoy football season. That's the tips I got. What's up with Kayvon Tibb and Dynasty? Should he be DL eligible? He is DL eligible on Sleeper, where you should be playing fantasy football. Speaking of which, I'm going to tell you all I told everybody yesterday morning. With Sleeper integrating now like this with Fantasy Pros, okay, and Fantasy Pros pushing people to Sleeper, we branded IDP 1-2-3 scoring as a way to bring more people into IDP fantasy football. Sleeper bought into that message. They adopted that scoring system after we pitched it to them. We need to get Dynasty Pros to adopt that as well. Since they're just latching on to Sleeper, we can say, you know what, just pull this IDP scoring system in, put it into all your back end, legitimize everything nice and clean. You know what I'm saying? And let's get this ball rolling. But anyway, Tibb and Dynasty, just hold. I mean, he's a rookie. He was taken super high. He's a little hurt right now. I mean, it's going to happen to guys. So just hold on to him. Yeah, I'm sorry, I mean, fantasy football sucks sometimes. It doesn't suck, though. That's the thing. Like, now you're in a position where if you start, you have to start fighting. Like, you get that comeback. Like, you can build that momentum. Like, it's a journey. Embrace it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. There's still hope for you, my friend. There's still hope for you. All right. I'm going to get out of these questions, get back to the task at hand, the IDP waiver wire stuff. And it's crazy because y'all are going to start being really mad at me because I actually have like 15 more bullet points before I actually get to the waiver wire players. So, I'm sorry. I love you. Okay. I'll go through them kind of quick, though. Minkah Fitzpatrick picks up right where he left off. Had another pick this week. You know, if people, I don't, there's not much else to say about Minkah. If you've been following this channel, if you've been following my analysis, you know, for years, you know that Minkah should be on your dynasty teams for dirt cheap because everybody was dumping him 2 years ago because he's just a free safety. Okay. Aiden Hutchinson powers through fatigue, 3-sack game yesterday. That's big. And it's not just like and when I say that's big, like sometimes I don't think people understand. Like people just don't understand defense. You'll hear people say things flippantly, like, "Oh, so and so will have a 3-sack game," and I've heard people say this actually about. I think it's Myles Garrett who people say this about all the time. They're like, "Oh, you know, he had a down game, but then he'll just show up and he'll have a 3-sack game." Ha ha ha! And everybody just like chuckles and laughs and they slap each other on the shoulders and they're just like, "Yeah, yeah." Myles Garrett, until last year, had never had a 3-sack game. People talked about it like it happened. But it had never happened. And in fact, I'm lying. He had one. Oh, my goodness. Ooh, I forgot he missed like a whole half a season. Man, that was tough. Mason Rudolph. Anyway, to get 3 actual sacks in a game is huge. Like someone like Myles Garrett, I'm looking at his career right now down here in the little corner. He's only done that twice in his career. And he's supposed to be the best of the best, right? TJ Watt's done it a couple of times. We already knew that. But I brought Myles Garrett because people love to, put him up there as the top guy. But Aiden Hutchinson's special. I mean, that's just the bottom line is he's special. He's like Max Crosby, but with more skills. You know what I'm saying? So that should tell you something. Shaq Barrett, 2-sack game versus the Saints. I really like this for him. I said yesterday morning, a lot of people don't want to play against the Saints offensive line, but it's not what it used to be. And especially when a team knows a team like this, I'm definitely okay putting Shaq Barrett in. I did. He had a great game. 2 sacks. I think he had a forced fumble as well. Christian Kirksey came through, picked off Russell Wilson last night. I had a bullet under here that said Russell Wilson sucks, but I figured y'all were smart. You didn't need to see that, so I just took it out of there. Michael Walker and Devin Lloyd. Both these guys are quickly becoming must-start linebackers. Yes. Devin Lloyd had a monster game yesterday. If you go follow me on Twitter, I just retweeted the 33rd team because they gave Devin Lloyd a little shout, which was good to see. It's good to see, football organizations, companies, brands, media outlets that are actually acknowledging that opposite of every, star offensive jackwagon, there's a guy over there on defense that sometimes is a star too. So they gave, all the rookie wide receivers got all that love, and I'm sure PFF will put something out too later today that's all rookie, offensive players. 33rd, they threw my man Devin Lloyd on there, and they threw Aiden Hutchinson on there. So chef's kiss to that, baby. We out here. Shout out to Cam Jordan. He's got Cam's quarter. Check them out on 33rd. Shout out to Chris Long, former Ram player. Just going to give my St. Louis Rams a little love because I can do that. All right, moving on. Devin White all the way back. He currently has 3 sacks on the season. Micah Parsons has 4. We're talking about him like he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. Don't forget, Devin White made sacks as an off-ball linebacker cool. All right, Zaven Collins is trending up. You might actually want to have Zaven Collins on your team. It looks like we're kind of figuring out who that's going to be as far as linebacker on the Cardinals to replace Campbell and replace Hicks. And it looks right now like Zaven Collins is pretty easily going to take that away from anybody that might even be coming for it. Antoine Winfield, back-to-back 20-point games. I'm bringing up points here because I don't want to talk about his tackles, blah, blah, blah. Points, okay? Not just double digits at a position, 20 points. That's very, 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 very meaningful in back-to-back weeks. Had him as a top 5 defensive back coming into the season. He's a stud. I mean, and he hasn't even been flashy yet, and he's still going over 20 points. So I'm loving me some Antoine Winfield right now. Just hopefully you have him. Just wanted to give him a little shout. What to do with Montez Sweat? This is kind of tough. I was looking at his numbers. They haven't come through for you in fantasy. That's just the straight up facts. He does have quite a few quarterback hits. I'll give him that. So, I mean, he's getting the pressure. I think it's just one of those things we're just going to have to wait. Just, you have to be patient. I don't like to be that guy and say, be patient, because that's such a cop-out for everything. But I don't have any control over this. You should be patient. Even though I don't want to be. I'm not saying you have to like it. You have to want it. But I'm saying I think in this situation, just continue to trust the process. We've seen Montez Sweat be very good, and he scores all over the field. Pass deflections, tackles for loss. He doesn't just have to get sacks to be very relevant. Brian Burns, another sack, they're in their 4th year now. Had a career game yesterday. 28 points. He's gone over 25 points, I believe, once or twice. Or maybe it wasn't. I think he went over. Yeah. He's only been over. I tweeted this out. There was a debate this weekend. Alex Highsmith or Brian Burns. And I did some research. Brian Burns before this week, his highest scoring game ever was 26 points. I pointed that out. What's Brian Burns do? He said, Jordan, get bodied. Goes out, puts up 28 points. So what do I know? So shouts to Brian Burns. I'm worried about Jeremy Chin's upside. I don't really have a lot of thoughts or comments on this right now, but it's just he's not coming through. And at a certain point when a player is not coming through for you, I mean, you have to kind of reassess obviously you have to reassess what you think they're going to do. Hope can stay, but the perspective and the perception and the outs, you have to consider that there are not as many going your way as going the other way. So a little worried about Chin. I know in Dynasty, he might be a player you could want to trade away. if I'm just being completely honest. Are both Kansas City linebackers weekly starters? They both played a lot of snaps this week, and they both scored a lot of points this week. However, Willie Gay is still not necessarily, he can sometimes be a liability in coverage. The reality is a lot of linebackers can be liabilities in coverage. So I want to see if he can get back out there again this next week, over 80% of snaps. I think he hit over 90 this last week. Double check the index. I went through and updated all that this morning. Took about an hour, hour and a half. That's all in there. Game books are in there as well. Denzel Perryman missed this game. Jayon Brown filled in for him, had 10 tackles, and then Xavier Woods needs to be rostered and played. Okay, you're like, Jordan, it's been 25 minutes. You haven't said anything about the IDP players that I need to be picking up. I know, and I'm sorry, and I apologize. I'm about to pull them up literally right now. So here are the players that I'm kind of targeting on waivers as of right now. And again, there are 4 more teams playing football tonight, so there will be more information come the rest of the week. You know how to follow us. You're watching this, so you'll be back, hopefully. My man Frankie Louvu comes off as number 1. Like I said, 4 tackles for loss. All of his tackles so far have been solo. He's just having a really good season as an off-ball linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, and he's probably on your waivers. So go get him. Pete Werner, another good week for Pete, came through for us. Drew Tranquil came through again. Both of them were on last week's show. And I'm saying this again, you might be like, oh, he's not on my waivers. And if some of these guys are on your waivers, that's fine. If you're playing in a super deep league and this isn't for you, that's fine. I acknowledge that. Feel free to tap out, go watch something else. We have other content. But I found some of these guys in some of my leagues that I'm in with professional football people, in deep dynasty leagues. I mean, in IDP, you would kind of be shocked sometimes at the quality of players that are left out there, even by people who may appear as though they know what the hell they're doing, myself included. So go get one over on me or anyone else that you need to. Don't think that Drew Tranquil is just not on your waivers. Don't think that Pete Werner is just not on your waivers. Check. Devin Lloyd, somebody drafted him. Maybe he got dropped and you missed it. Go check. Okay. Zaire Franklin filled in nicely again, 100% of snaps for Shaquille Leonard. Alex Anzalone, weird name, weird hair, playing a bunch of snaps. We like him, and we like Detroit. We love that team right now. Malcolm Rodriguez, he's going to be on the thumbnail, showing my boy Rodrigo some love. He's been a good player. So far, his snaps have been going up. He seems like he's going to be a good, legitimate starter for them. So, go out there and get him. He's going to be a good player. You can probably plug and play at worst, like a flex. Malcolm Spillane, like I said, we don't know what's going to be up with Devin Bush this upcoming week. So he's a player to look for on your waiver wire. He's had literal linebacker 1 on the week finishes. So don't fade him just because he's some no-name guy. He can play ball. Zaven Collins, like I said, he might be on your waivers. Joe Tyrone Shoyinko, defensive line for Tampa Bay, taking over in that JPP spot. Hopefully JPP's enjoying his retirement. I'm not going to lie. I miss seeing him out there. Rashad Weaver, defensive line player for Tennessee, came in, filled in for Harold Landry, my guy. Doing all right. Somebody you could probably check on. And if you're in a deep league, he's probably out there, and he might be there next week, and he might be the week after. Travis Gibson had a good game last night. I will say he didn't play a lot of snaps. But the thing I feel like I learned from the Travis Gibson game last night is, Aaron Rodgers is screwed this season he's going to get sacked so much. It's going to be tough. So I'm looking to pay attention to who Aaron Rodgers is playing going forward. And Travis Gibson, I'm okay maybe picking him up as a streamer to play for my defensive line. Last few players I got here, Justin Owens, another great week for him, defensive back / safety for Houston. Duron Harmon, a great week for him, another defensive back for the Raiders. He had a couple of big plays. Unfortunately, I couldn't pull that win out. Derek Forrest, filling in for Cam Curl, a good game. And then Grant Delpit, he was on last week's show. A lot of people loved him coming out of LSU. 100% of snaps this last week. That's what you want from your defensive backs. You want a guy who's preferably playing safety, but you want the snaps to be high. So Grant Delpit seems to have taken, or that seems to be his job right now. So we are very into him. Ronnie Harrison seems to be fading out a little bit. John Johnson and Grant Delpit seem to be the 2 defensive backs / safeties that you want for the Browns. So My last little piece here that I have is this is kind of a new segment, and then I'll answer all the questions that are over here floating around uh, in the chat, and then we'll vibe a little bit before I shut it down and get to my other stuff that I need to get done. But week 3 DL streamers, I went ahead, took a little peek ahead what we have going on, and again, these guys are going to be some of these are going to be. Again, I don't know what your league's like. If your league, these guys are all owned in your league, and you're this is a 10 team league. I don't know. Somebody might need this. It's not for you. It's not for you. Dante Fowler had a sack yesterday. Granted, it was against Joe Burrow, who's been the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, but he gets to go against he played the New York. He gets the New York Giants this upcoming week. My goodness, I did not type that very well. They had a really, really rough game yesterday. Still won. Daniel Jones had a rough game, though. So if you want to get some pass rush that might get you a little upside, Dante Fowler, probably out there. Played low snaps, but like I said, he has some upside. And he did force a fumble and get a sack against Burrow this last week. Carl Lawson gets to play the aforementioned Joe Burrow this upcoming week. Burrow, most sacked quarterback in the league. Lawson, still no sacks on the season. Seems to be fully healthy. Seems to be a big part of that defense. Just hasn't had his sacks yet. Joe Tyrone plays the Packers. Like I said briefly earlier, Aaron Rodgers has been sacked plenty this year. I think he's tied for 4th in the league right now with 7. Shaq Barrett coming off one side, Joe Daddy on the other, and then you still have Devin White coming blitzing, screaming up the middle, and you still might have old Winfield out there. So I think that Joe Tyrone has a chance to have a little bit of a little breakout this upcoming week. Yetur Gross-Matos plays the Saints. Again, coming back to the fact that Jameis, second most sacked player in the NFL right now, sacked 10 times. Yetur Gross-Matos gets to play him this upcoming week on the opposite side of Brian Burns, who came off a nice week himself. And then my last streamer, this one's a little bit, that's a funny word, trepidatious, I guess is the right way to say it, because he's definitely like a boom or bust. Like he's going to get a sack or he's not going to do anything. Justin Houston has had a sack in back-to-back weeks, plays the Patriots in week 3. Now, the caveat is Mac Jones has only been sacked twice this season, okay? But he hasn't had to play against an offense that's probably going to be able to run up some points on him, put him in some icky situations, and, make him stand in the pocket a little bit. So the Ravens, we just saw, they can score. Scoring's not the Ravens' problem. It's keeping other people from scoring that seems to be their problem. So the Ravens do run it up a little bit, a score or two on Mac Jones. He's going to drop back to pass, and then the Ravens they're probably going to be a little bit salty going into this next week defensively. So like I said, Justin Houston, only 2 sacks this year on Mac Jones, but if you're looking for a pop sack or, to keep the, 3 weeks in a row kind of going, Justin Houston, you could do worse. You could do worse this upcoming week. Not a perfect matchup, but I'm not against streaming Justin Houston this week. So, all right, let's see what other questions and comments we got going on over here, y'all. And please feel free to keep them coming. I'm gonna try to do my best to answer them all for you. And like I said, everybody just if you want to support the channel, you can leave us a 5-star rating, a review, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the Patreon, become a member, leave a super chat. All of those things are awesome, and we appreciate every single one of them. So thank you. Thoughts on Michael Walker? Yeah, I think I brought him up. And he's headed towards an every week kind of start kind of guy. If he's on your waivers, don't let him sit there too long. Somebody might let him fly under the radar one more week. But Jacob L says, what are your thoughts on Kyle Hamilton and Dynasty? I looked at him this morning. He only played 55% of snaps, 55-ish last week as well. In Dynasty, I'm still very bullish. But I think that he's surrounded by players that are known veterans, commodities. Chuck Clark. Y'all know I love Chuck Clark if you've been around for a while. And then we saw Marcus Williams be very good yesterday. So when you have guys that are known commodities that are high-level players, I mean, you kind of have to earn your right to get on the field, and they're older than you. I mean, he's still a kid. No shade to Kyle Hamilton. He's a kid. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to have his time to go out there and play 100% of snaps eventually. Some of these guys don't have so much time. And you train to get there, and then if you're the most ready, that's who plays. I mean, that makes sense to me. So Space Monkey Mafia says, is 1, 2, 3 scoring, deflections, assists, tackles? No, IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring for y'all that are in here. I'll show you very quickly. Is right here. It is, oh my gosh, where is your comment? 1 point for quarterback hits and assisted tackles, 2 points for tackles for loss and solo tackles, 3 points for forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, passes defended, safeties, and block hits, and then 4 for sacks, interceptions, and touchdowns. And then those can be further broken down into essentially impact plays, which are all of the 3-point plays and the 6-point plays, plus the tackle for loss, because those actually end up stacking with a solo, so it ends up being 4 points. And then all of them I call just the basic plays, which are your QB hits, and then your tackles, your solo tackles, and your assisted tackles. Those are high volume, low equity plays. And then as you get more rare plays, more meaningful plays, turnover opportunities, true turnovers themselves, moving the line of scrimmage backwards, scoring points, those things are worth more. And so this is the default that this is the default standard scoring that Sleeper uses. They've used it for 2 seasons now. It's been going really well. Here's a lot of positive feedback. The only negative feedback I've literally ever got on IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring came from other IDP analysts who were just salty that they're nice, that they didn't want to actually do the work. There we go. I said it. Anyway, Diablo went off. Yeah, he was on the list last week. He did go off. I had some people asking about him. I think I had somebody kind of clowning me about him, but I was like, I mean, he seems like one of the guys they like there. Again, it's not always about what I like. It's not about what you like. Pay attention to what the coaching staff seems to like. Pay attention to what teammates seem to be saying. These are all, again, this is my qualitative analysis versus my quantitative analysis soapbox that I literally live on. Is the numbers in football are the same for everybody. Nobody gets information that is not available to anybody else. Okay. So when people get on Twitter or get on their shows and all they do is regurgitate raw information, that's not valuable to me. It's not. Context, qualitative analysis. Again, you can send me that spreadsheet. I don't need to hear it from you. What do you think about it? That's what I want to hear from you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm different. Diablo went off. Yeah. Sometimes the numbers point to things not going that way. Who cares? Okay. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it's poor process. Okay. Sorry. Shouldn't have done that. Moving on. Cameron B. I'm in a 16-team full PPR league. Can you please tell me if I should make some moves with my roster? I'm about to go 0-2. Is AJ Brown doesn't go off tonight? Man, that's a big question you got coming through here. But you know what? I'll answer it. I'm like that. My roster is Burrow, CMC, Saquon, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, Dawson Knox, Eagles, DST, and Dustin Hawkins. For a 16-team league, that sounds like a pretty beastly roster, my guy. My bench is Daniel Jones, Brandon Ayuk, Naeem Hines, Rondell Moore, Njoku, Hamler, and Alexander Madison. I didn't see any defensive players there, my man. We got to fix that. So what is your actual question? What would I do? Moves I would make? Okay, moves I would make. I'm 100% moving CMC off my team. This is the last year. I mean, he's 26, 27. I mean, he doesn't go up anymore. Like the value of CMC doesn't go up anymore. At best, you're at a plateau. The reality is it's probably already started to go on a downturn. So I'm getting out of the CMC business, especially if you have Saquon already. And if you can get a little bit of a haul back for that, it's going to insulate your team. A 16-team league, even the smallest bit of insulation is going to give you a massive edge, in my opinion. Because, you have somebody loses one piece on a roster this size, you can't replace off the waiver wire a 1-for-1. You might be able to get 60%, 70% of some sort of production, but you're not going to be able to go 1-for-1. Not likely. So I'm okay with moving Christian McCaffrey, and he's probably your best player to move because you're going to get the most for him. Hope that was helpful. Ryan Green says, I lost Jamal Adams for the year and traded Jeff Wilson for Harrison Smith. I never would have started Wilson at RB, so I basically turned 10% of my fab into Harrison Smith pump. Yeah, that's a good flip. Jeff Wilson ended up having a decent day, but if you need Harrison Smith, I mean, he's a top to 5 option every week at his position. And that's going to be a little bit of an edge over Jeff Wilson, who's probably a top 15 option every week until he's just irrelevant, which Harrison Smith will never be. So not bad. Space Monkey Mafia, do you think DL Sam Williams will ever be a full-time starter opposite DeMarcus Lawrence on the Cowboys? I don't know. I don't know. You ready to drop Chandler Jones for Robert Quinn, Travis Gibson, or Preston Smith? Am I dropping Chandler Jones? No. I mean, what did he do yesterday? He didn't have a massive game like I was hoping, but 7 points. He played 78 snaps. That's a lot of snaps. I'm keeping him in. Travis Gibson only played like 30 snaps last night, so definitely not. And then Preston Smith, he only shows up on fucking primetime games. That's why anybody even knows his name. Sorry, Preston. You're a good pass rusher, but come on now. So no, I'm not. I might for Robert Quinn, but even that, just outright dropping, no. I wouldn't outright drop Chandler Jones. Not somebody that's played almost 150 snaps through 2 weeks. Cameron B, my bad. I have Kareem Hunt as well. Same analysis. Dump CMC. Thoughts on Jesse Bates? Same as they kind of always have been. You know who and what he is. A little less upside maybe than in the past. I saw some people commenting. And again, it's a variable. Someone said, maybe he's not playing as hard this year. He won't play as hard. He's going to make the business decision because he's on the tag. So that's something to think about. So I still love him long-term, love him on this team. But this last week, I'm going to keep watching, but he's never really been a dynamic sort of disruptor as far as contacting the players. Does that make sense? Like a strong safety would, force fumbles, those kinds of things. He's more of a finesse guy, a free safety. Interceptions, pass deflections, things like that. Still gets his tackles and all that, but probably a DB2 rest of the way, DB3 flex kind of guy. Just, again, we're going to have to watch and see how it develops, how he plays. And I really haven't had a chance to dig into this game yesterday with them. Wow, that was a weird game. Ryan Green says, drop Chuck Clark for Deshaun Elliott or Grant Delpit now, or let it ride with Chuck, even though Marcus Williams can only big plays at points. I would stay with Chuck Clark. Thanks as always, Jordan. You're the man. Appreciate it. Wow, sacks and interceptions are 6 points each in 1, 2, 3. Yep, sure are. Highsmith ain't the same without TJ. Shit, the Steelers ain't the same without TJ. It's his fucking team. They're now 0-5 without him, right? Imagine thinking that there was a better defensive player anywhere on the planet at football than TJ Watt has been over the last 3 years. Just imagine the type of mental gymnastics you have to do to arrive at a name as the most meaningful, impactful player in football that isn't, and you land somewhere that's not TJ Watt. It's wild out here in these streets, yo. It's wild. What up, bro? Yo, Drew, how's it going, my guy? Appreciate you all coming through, having a good time, answering some questions. We'll have this up on the channel, or this is the channel. We'll have this up on the podcast feed in like an hour. We'll be back later this week with the Underdog Show. Did pretty good on Underdog this last week. I'm going to be back with the ranking show later in the week. And obviously, I'm on Twitter doing my thing. Love talking to you all. Ken Vasquez says Hobbs or Jalen Thompson at DV for next week. Give me Thompson. Justin Slosher says you're my favorite ID. Who's your favorite IDP rookie to hold in Dynasty that you think could be going off in the future? I still kind of like Chad Muma, just because I don't know how long Olakun's going to be around per se. He could be in a situation kind of like Cody Barton, where he comes into the league and he putzes around. He sits on the end of a taxi squad for 2 or 3 years, and then boom, he's relevant. So that's a name I'll throw out there. Thank you. Thanks for all you do, Jordan. My favorite IDP content on YouTube. Yeah, IDP content is coming. You know, I posted something yesterday on Twitter. I mean, I don't get any love on Twitter from the fantasy community, but it's whatever. It's funny because I know they all interact with me and watch me and follow me because they all DM me about stuff. But, you know, I'm a bit of a rabble rouser. But I posted something about, I just screenshotted like our last 8 or 9 IDP videos. They're all over 1,000 views. One of them has like 4,000 views. How can you sit there as a huge fantasy football legacy brand and say in earnest the IDP, like there's no desire, there's no what's the right word, so demand for IDP content? People are literally starving in the desert for this shit. Y'all just don't want to do it. And the reality is, and I've said this forever, the real problem is the guys at the top can't distinguish good IDP content from bad, so they just bring on an IDP person, and the IDP person just makes stuff. Is that how your business got big? Is that how your brand took over the industry? Just letting people do stuff? No. You had a plan. You had a design. You were intentional. You focused on it. You made it a priority. It's not hard. It's a decision. It's a choice. It's a choice. False. It's not. Everything's complicated when you don't know anything about it. All you have to do is be introduced to it properly, and you can do it. Of course, it's complicated if you've never been introduced to it. If you don't have any information around it, no infrastructure, no education. Yeah. But I mean, would you be good at football or fantasy football without all of the infrastructure, all of the content, all the optimizers, tools, people creating rankings, all the models? No. It's not complicated. You've just been educated in it. They've given you the tools to succeed. All somebody has to do in the position of power is make a choice to do that on defense. Poof. I become irrelevant. Somebody smarter and prettier and faster and sexier than me will do this. But until then, we'll run the market. IDP Army will run the market. We're cool with that, ain't we? Y'all fuck with, I'm trying to cut the cussing out. We'll run the market. But when y'all ready, hit me up. You don't even have to hire me. Just DM me. I'll tell you who's good out there. Don't do this on your own. You've been doing it on your own too long. You need help. Hit me up for a consult. Anyway, at work, wish I could stay. Hey, appreciate you, Drew. Thanks for the advice. What are your thoughts on trading CMC and Cooper for Kamara and Amon-Ra St. Brown? Alvin Kamara is trash. You don't get bleh. No. Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yes. Get out of the 25-year-old pass-catching RB that was good 3 years ago business, okay? That's CMC. That's Alvin Kamara. Who else is right on the cusp of that these days? That's Dalvin Cook. That's Joe Mixon. Get out of that business. That's not what you want to be doing. This is like the plateau is here. If we're here, it's only going down. Don't bring more of that onto your team. Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yes. Hey, do you think Cody Barton will be more productive than Brooks? I don't know. Could be. But what if it's 201 points to 202? They're playing really similar roles on the same team. Health, you know what I mean? And speed. Who's in the right place at the right time? I love them both right now. Derek Forrest, any thoughts? Is he just relevant until Curl comes back? I mean, it's funny because everybody who loves Cameron Curl now and says that he can't lose this job are the same people who last year said he couldn't even have the job. And now Derek Forrest isn't. So I don't know. I think Derek Forrest is all right. I think if he owns the job, takes the job, it's going to have to be taken away from him. Does that make sense? So every day that Cameron Curl is not around to take it back, the grip that Derek Forrest has is stronger on it. Does that make sense? So I like Derek Forrest right now. He's still on the pickups for the week for the IDP waiver wire. Curl, we'll have to see. Just something to monitor. Had a down year last year. People were already kind of off of him after his rookie season, again, just because for whatever. So it's funny to watch them kind of overcorrect now and just be like, oh, no, it is Curl. He's the only thing that matters. I'm like, a year ago, you guys said he was fucking chum in the water. IDP, I already talked to you about that. Keep Luvu or Rashaan Evans in Dynasty. Why not both? What's up? I'd be curious to know, more context around that. NASCAR Fantasy Live. Okay. Any CBs that you would recommend to take off of waivers? I'm Asante Samuel. Rasul Douglas looked like he was doing some things last night. CBs is one position I struggle at, and either that or they are very inconsistent. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. That's why I tell people I don't do the whole. I know there's a small faction of people that like stream corners and stuff. That's too much work. You want to talk about complicated IDP? That's complicated IDP where you're streaming every position and no. I want a plug and play guy. Guess who I drafted at cornerback in all my leagues in NASCAR Fantasy Live? And I'm not saying this just to be an asshole. Kenny Moore, Marlon Humphrey, Trevon Diggs. Poof. My life is very simple. I play them and I don't think about it. If somebody else wants to write a 10,000 word article every week about some guy coming off the bench that might have a good game, that's fine. I don't need that in my life. I just draft the good guys and I play them. That's how you win. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So off of waivers, I saw Asante Samuel has been having some good games. L'Jarius Sneed, if he's out there, if people are still like not in on him, he's playing more kind of like a hybrid safety role. Another cornerback that I kind of like. Bobby McCain on the Washington Commanders. I saw he has a CB designation some spots. He's more of a traditional safety. Another guy I like there. That's Teron Johnson. He was another guy I liked a couple years ago from the Bills. They're going to put people in bad situations. Going to have to throw on them a lot. So there's a handful of guys that might be on your waiver wire. Hopefully that one of those guys is out there probably. Ken Vasquez. Grab Michael Walker now or give it another week. Just go for it now, man. If you got somebody to drop, if you're already thinking like that, you don't want to be in that like situation where you're like, oh, hopefully I get him. Just go get him. There we go. Corey agrees. Ken, grab him. Don't run. Don't walk. Ryan Green, one of the guys at my live draft was complaining about not finding good IDP content. Yeah, tell him to complain, not to you and your friends. Tell him to get on the internet and start adding the ballers. Tell him to add everybody. Okay? Tell him quit bitching where nobody can hear it. I wanted to drop your name, but I couldn't because it would make him and his wife way better in my league. Oh, the pain, my guy. The pain of that statement. You don't even know. All right? It's such a two-edged sword. It's like, maybe I should be fucking worse, and then maybe people would be like, well, this guy's okay. Tell him, just do it. Tell him, come on, Ryan. Don't be a coward. Give them the weapons so they can beat you. Oh, yeah, looks like Ken agrees. Sounds good. Thanks, man. From Cameron B. Appreciate that. Wow, this has been super fun, y'all. There's straight up there's like 40 people in here right now. That's more than we even had yesterday streaming with us. Having a damn good time. Again, there's no demand for IDP content. Says who? You? Nah. Open your eyes. If you build it, they will come. It's like what is this? How many billions of dollars are there in football? There's millions, billions even. And half the players just completely left off of the whole defensive side of things. It's wild. It's wild. But you know what? Low key, this shit is changing. Just look around. Just go check Prize Picks. They're hip. They know what's up with the defensive fantasy real money sports games or whatever. I don't know how we got to categorize it, but it's coming. All right. So I appreciate you all. I want to keep talking because there's so many people here, but I also don't want you guys to be like, man, this guy's just rambling on and on and on. He's so fucking annoying. A couple more questions. Okay, I'll answer those and I'll get out of here. Jay Wiz, and again, help keep me honest with the cussing thing. I'm trying to bring it down a notch. I think I can still be passionate, like a Shannon Sharp without being crass like Gary V. Okay, Jay Wiz 2000. I got Von Miller and Hurts going against Josh Allen tonight. Down 13 points. Wow. You might. That's not a bad. I mean, I could see Hurts and Allen going head to head. Vaughn's going to be tricky though because Hurts doesn't get sacked. He got sacked once 2 weeks ago. We saw Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks this week. Couldn't even get his hands on old Jalen Hurts in week 1. So Vaughn's going to be in a little trouble. It's going to be a little slippery tonight. We'll see how it goes. Don't count yourself out yet, Jay Wiz. Mixon for QB Tug. Eugene, my guy. I don't know what that means. Is that like QB Tua? Is that what you meant? Because I probably wouldn't do that unless it was super flex. And I would 100% do that. If it's just a regular league, I mean, I assume you have a decent quarterback. Don't buy high. And if you're gonna buy Tua, y'all listen. You don't take anything else away from this. If you're gonna buy Tua, don't buy him today. Don't buy him tomorrow. Okay. You've had years to buy Tua. There's no reason to get out there and pay a 50% premium on him today. Give it a week. Give it 2. Wait till he has one of his 2 touchdown games, not his 6 touchdown game. Okay. There's some advice. Do with it what you will. I say that he'll probably have like 3-6 touchdown games in a row now. Let's get your boy some likes. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're watching this and you haven't liked this video, you're not going to die and go to heaven. Okay. You're going to go to the other place. So let's fix that right now. Hit that like button. Also, you could subscribe. I mean, like I said, start adding sleeper, start adding my fantasy pros. Tell them get IDP 1, 2, 3 integrated. Tell them quit playing with us like that. Say it's time. Saw wow 1, 2, 3. How do you like Teron Johnson versus some of the other DBs on your waiver wire targets? I mean, again, if you're in a cornerback specific league, you're obviously going to want to lean towards a guy like that. He's on a great team. Buffalo's going to put it on people all season. They're going to have to throw against them. So for that purposes, I mean, I like him, but I mean, I don't know who's on your waiver, and every league's so different. I mean, I tell people this all the time, which is why fantasy football is so easy for analysts to win in the summertime because nothing happens in the summer. Everything's static. So you can just have a take and that take is just right. And then week 1 comes and it's like, the paper cards, the paper house comes falling down. But I don't know who's on your waiver wire. Some of the other guys that I put on there for my targets, I'd probably still take Hufanga over. He's here at the bottom right there. I would take him over Teron Johnson, and I would probably take Josh Jones, who's also right here, over him. And that's probably it. Delpit and Derek Forrest, I'm probably not going to take them over Teron Johnson. I'm not going to take them over Johnson. I'd probably take Johnson over them because we know Johnson's role is secure. He is a starting slot corner for them, period. Sorry. What's his face? Who I was just talking about. Oh no, what did I press? Derek Forrest, there is a chance that he could lose that role, that job. We don't know that, but it's not locked in kind of the way it is with Teron Johnson. So, but hopefully that answered your question. I know, bro. Hurts is slippery. Yeah, you're telling. I mean, like, and it's so important to adjust quickly in fantasy football. Like the people out here that are still like, Kyle Pitts is still good. No, he's not. Not only is he not still good, he was never good for IDP for fantasy. Okay. Now don't send me his player profile or screenshot. I don't give a hoot. Okay. Don't send me his 40. I don't care. Okay. Let's talk about him playing football. He scored 1 touchdown last year against John Franklin Myers, an interior defensive lineman for the Jets. And he finished as tight end 7, getting all the targets with a better quarterback than he's got this year. No wide receiver 1, no wide receiver 2 to compete with. Tight end 7. And people tried to make it seem like he was going to go up this year. He's going to get better. He's going to score more points. What happened to regression? 2 years ago, if a player had even a year as good as the one they had before, they were going to regress. Kyle Pitts, though, he goes out there and he literally raises the bar. And what do people say? Just wait till next year. It's going to go up even higher. What? Then what the fuck have you been telling me in the last 3 years? And again, bleep out the curse word. Working on that. We're going to be better. Just saying, adjust your expectations based on what you see. Don't just listen to me. I'm insane. Okay. You have eyes. I say something crazy, go watch, see if I'm crazy, and then come back, tell me, because I need to know. And I'll do the same for you. Okay. Love y'all. Corey Rideout. Everyone should consider grabbing Epps tonight. Ooh, that's a good player to put on this list. If you have someone worth dropping, looked great last week, and his value should be nice. Could go up a nice bit from tonight's game. That's a good play, and that's in season fantasy. These are the movements, these are the plays, these are the variables that you can control. Pickups, drops, get in early, get out early, sell the top, buy the bottom. You know how it goes. Would you drop Cameron Grugier-Hill? No. NASCAR Fantasy Life. He was the number one linebacker. He was a top 3 linebacker last week. His counterpart this week had a great week, Christian Kirksey. It's going to be great for them both all season long. Playing for Houston, knows to get around the football. No way. My man, you crazy. I mean, unless you're like running like a 2 IDP flex spot. And then, I mean, again, contextually, there are obviously times when that might be an appropriate move. Jeff Rodrigo says, I have Khalil Mack, Jordan Brooks, Fred Warner, and B. Jones that I started this week. I have Chanel Rodrigo, Lloyd. Who's Chanel? Lloyd, Chin, Petrie, and Hufanga on the bench, and Jay Simmons on IR. Should I be looking for waivers, 2 waivers, or sit? I'm kind of not really understanding your question. So starting 1 DL, 2 LBs, and 1 DB. I mean, okay, so you're looking just to start one of these guys. So you already started your DL, you started your line. I mean, I think I wouldn't go to waivers. You have a lot of really quality players here. Petrie trending up, Hufanga trending up, Chin. I mean, not somebody I'm super excited to start every week, but would rather have him on my team still than put him on waivers. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. I mean, if you're just looking for some reassurance that you're stable, your core, of your IDPs are good, that's a pretty good IDP core. Jordan Brooks leading it up, perfect. Fred Warner as a 2, fine with that. Rodrigo trending up. Lloyd, you might have a really good player there if it's Devin Lloyd, even if it's the other Lloyd, Leonard Floyd. I guess that's not Lloyd, that'd be Floyd, Leonard Floyd. So I think you're doing all right. Keep cruising your waivers. You never know what's out there, and if something better's there, take it. Don't feel guilty for it. Take it. Play it against somebody. Win. But as of right now, I wouldn't just be like making a move just because you kind of had a down week with Fred Warner and Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones' snap count was weird. I need to look into that a little more. When I was putting it into the index earlier, I noticed he was like around 65%. So I don't know if he got I don't know if he got knocked out of the game or something, or if they just moved away from playing him as much, which would make sense if they did do that, given his skill set and kind of how that game was going for them. But still, I'm not like dropping Brandon Jones or anything. I just can't victory lap him this week like I did last week. It's Devin Lloyd. Yeah, he's in a good spot. Loving some Devin Lloyd. Jonathan Lee, would you grab Epps or Hufanga? I mean, if you need somebody tonight, it's Epps. I mean, I don't think you can pick up Hufanga until probably tomorrow or the next day. So depending on what you're trying to do, you might pick up Epps tonight just to have him on your team. If he gets hurt, if he sucks, drop him, pick up Hufanga if he's still out there. Jeff, I have Nate Hobbs, Frank, Luvu, and Derek Forrest all on waivers ATM. Ooh, okay, I'm interested in Frank Luvu. I'm seriously interested in Frank Luvu right now because we could be looking at like a Denzel Perryman type situation where he just was nobody all off season and he finishes the season as like the one. So given some of the guys you have on your team, I'd probably Justin Simmons on IR. I'd consider dropping. I might drop Rodrigo. Tough spot. Rasul Douglas droppable, might swoop up for us. I don't think he's dropping. He's a cornerback, so I don't know if he's like totally droppable. If you're not, but I mean, if you have the option to play a safety, like a defensive back over a corner, as like a general piece of IDP knowledge, you should like always do that because their baseline's generally higher. And I'm not like talking to you like that because I don't. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. Maybe some other people here don't know. I don't know. I'm just that's good and for useful information. Something I didn't know early on, or even after a year sometimes of playing IDP, so I kind of started to realize. So sharing that. Jay Wiz, y'all talk about the Maniac yet? I got him and TJ on IR. Yeah, I mean it ain't pretty out there for him or TJ, especially given the cost to get guys like that on your team. But week 2, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. In Dynasty, my suggestion would be TJ Watt. Just hold. Never get rid of him. Leonard, I'm okay with peddling Leonard if you need to, if I'm being completely honest, because he's another one of those players where I think his value right now is I don't think it can go up any higher. You know what I mean? And let's just say it is plateauing. That's fine. How long do you plateau before you start going down? So something to think about. That's a personal decision, you know. And you might, again, I always say this. You might, we're fans of the game. You might be a Colts fan, and that might be sacrilege. The idea of dropping or trading TJ Watt, like you could literally like call me and say, I'll Venmo you $500 if you trade. I'm like, no. Because on this Dynasty roster, we're going to terrorize this league for a decade. All right? You take your money. I don't want your money. I want your tears. I want your sadness. I want your pain. All right, y'all. I know I'm a little wild sometimes. I got chill. All right. Jeff Rodrigo says also that is Leah Chanel from KC. They're a second or third round pick from sure I forgot. I don't know anything about him, really, if I'm being completely honest right now. So he might be a droppable kind of player. Generally speaking, the defenders for the Chiefs aren't really good for IDP. The linebackers right now are kind of proving that wrong. Daniel Sorensen did have some plays a couple years ago, but they're usually kind of like more replacement level guys, especially with the pass rush. But I don't know. I'll keep an eye on him in the next Chiefs game I'm watching. I'll try to hopefully pull some more thoughts and context into what I just said there. Smeeter says, how do you feel about starting Kayvon Thibodeau right now off the bat in week 3? Start 9 IDP league, and I have other options like Wilkins and Robert Quinn. Waivers are super thin. Let's take a look at who Kayvon plays this week. First game in the league, he gets to go up against Dallas. Dallas, I mean, if you have better options, I don't want to put him in week 1. That's where I'm at. And start 9 IDPs, though. I mean, if you want to get froggy, you want to get crazy, you could, And if you have Kayvon Thibodeau, now I wonder, are you a Giants fan? And that high will be just a little bit better if he's in your lineup and he gets his first sack. So I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough decision. I would probably sit him just to see what happens, but I understand wanting to just play with your new toy. So Sweat and D Hunter on my bench. Man, your team is rocking, bro. I mean, your team sounds set. You don't need my help. Yeah. It's gotta be a dynasty team. All right, Kid Meathead. This is the last question. I say that, and there's more. Oh my gosh, y'all. Oh, somebody's spamming. I'm gonna answer the last 2 questions, y'all, and then I'm gonna jet set out of here because I got stuff I need to do. But this has been an awesome time. I appreciate everybody that's come through. Come through on Sunday morning. Check out the podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Play Underdog Fantasy with us. That's honestly like my obsession right now is Underdog Fantasy because it's so fun. Even though I appreciate your insights from yesterday and all the stats and info from years ago that you gather, I knew I should have played Lulu Diablo instead of Quincy Williams like you advised. I'm sorry. Okay. Mistakes were made. I made my own mistakes. I've made, and I'll make more. But you got me. You got me. Luvu. But I'm still winning my matchup by 40 points. You come in here and throw that at me, but you're still winning by 40? Come on, my guy. That's a big dub. That's a huge dub. What's up, Jordan? Grugio busted. I was hurt. Marcus Williams, Baltimore DB, ended up being fantasy gold. Yeah, and he got hurt there at the end of that game, too. I don't know if you all saw that. So I'm kind of worried about like if he's going to come back or not. I didn't put him on my list. I should have. Oops, my bad. Not perfect. Y'all got to stop asking me questions. This thing just keeps popping and popping and popping. My week 2 IDPs, Nate, Winfield, Garrett, Bobby Wagner, Jordan Hicks, Miller left to go. You got to, yeah, you're going to get some good points there. Last 2, get this spammer out of here. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Actually, I think I can. Block user. Okay, cool. Did it work on y'all's end? I'm looking at something different than you all looking at. So sorry about that. Doesn't happen often. Appreciate it, homie. And the CBs I had maybe upgrade. Awuzie is an interesting pick. He has a pretty good baseline for cornerback. So I'm somewhat interested in him. Alexander, his name just comes up too much, and he's just one of those guys that NFL media people he's a name they just pluck, and they're just like, Jair Alexander, he's amazing, he's the best. Is he gonna shut down Justin Jefferson in week 1? How's Justin Jefferson gonna beat Jair Alexander? Do you watch football? No, but I do have access to PFF. Okay. That's cool. And there's a place for that. And we're proud of you. And we love you. All right, y'all. I'm starting to make an ass out of myself. So this has been awesome. Like I said, this is my week 3 IDP waiver wire targets. The rankings will go up soon. Check out idparmy.com. Join the Patreon. Play Underdog Fantasy with us. Winning some money over there. We had a profitable week this week. Not a lot of money, but profit's profit. We'll take it. We're going to dump it right back into the Battle Royale for this next week. I'll be putting up some content on that in the next 48 hours, telling you all my favorite guys to draft, why I like drafting them, teams that I like, and just maybe some players that I'm avoiding and all that. And then maybe show you some over-under lines that I like for the week as well. So, yeah, I appreciate everyone that's been here. Thanks for rocking with us. Like I said, share this content with people. I know it's good. But what do they say in the Bible? They say, don't hide your light under a hill, or under a basket, share it with the world. Let your little light shine out there, all right, for the IDP Army. All right. That's all for me, y'all. Take her easy.